Hey, I'm Christina. I'm an investment analyst at Ohio Innovation Fund. Today, I have with me Rick. Rick, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Rick Arlo. I'm the founder and CEO of Complion. We are a leading e-regulatory software provider for hospitals and medical centers running clinical trials, as well as their pharma companies and CROs.
Could you talk a little bit about what's going on at Complion right now, given the situation with COVID?
What we've seen here in the industry and that we've been responding to really provide the most value here for the clients that we serve. There's been a couple of key things, right? One is that there's clinical trials that are ongoing, non-COVID related, that are super important to continue that important work that these groups are doing. And within the time of social distancing and quarantining, how do you continue to get that work done, remotely, both with your key staff members, where there are key, regulatory documentation, approvals, and work that needs to be done with your team, as well as separately with your, sponsors and CROs in terms of monitoring. And so, really, with that in mind, we provided. And we've seen some great additional solutions we've rolled out for our clients to enable them to handle that full remote monitoring process. We've provided a fast track program for new groups that we started working with to really accelerate their time to get up and running very quickly within days or a week or two to get up and running in the system here, whether it's at existing departments or trials we're not already in with current groups we're working with, as well as with new organizations that are out there as well too. Last point here as well too, we've been working with pharma companies and CROs directly. They now need to be able to really run these highest quality studies for Corona without ever stepping foot on the site. And that's been difficult previously, getting access to all the key documents, understanding them, reviewing, collecting everything you need in a timely manner. It's only gotten a lot more difficult, obviously, now where they cannot go physically on site. So we've really provided this eISF or eRegulatory software solution for the pharma companies and CROs for their next Corona studies, and to do so in a way that increases the level of quality that they need to do on this important work, and to help contain their cost associated with it as well too. So we've really seen some great opportunities here to be able to provide more value to our customers that are doing awesome work in clinical trials, to keep the great studies ongoing, as well as to be able to enable these COVID studies, which I think just in the last 2 weeks we've seen over 12 or 15 new COVID studies here jump into our system, which is really exciting to be able to help partner with these organizations to help them run these studies that are critically important for everyone out here, at this current time.
Could you take me through the process of a clinical trial in a traditional sense versus what a clinical trial could look like with Complion?
Yeah, great question. So traditionally, how this process is done today, and still at a majority of sites, is it's a very manual regulatory and document process where usually physical paper binders are being created, or really big, messy, nasty, shared drive, folders within folders, and difficulty to find all the key information that you need. And so really at the highest level, the reason why all of this work needs to be done is to make sure that every patient on these studies is being protected, and that the studies are being run in such a way that we can pull the data out to understand if this study is producing the types of results that we want to see, right? And so ultimately that means a lot of documentation that goes in around all of those points. So really with Complion specifically, as the first eRegulatory vendor ever out there, specifically built here for the needs of these research sites, we can greatly optimize that process to enable sites to have a much higher level of quality, have everything done in the right spot, easily found at their fingertips and in the cloud, so that I can do that online while I'm sitting at home and working from home, and really be able to automate that process to reduce the time and cost that goes into it. And on the other side here, these pharma companies and CROs have a big challenge, which is only expedited now in that I can't physically go to the site, and I need to make sure that I've reviewed everything that I need to, collected every individual document that I'm required to in a timely manner, and that I'm doing so because this work is important with the highest level of quality, that it's all correct, and this level of perfection that's being demanded of me. I can help meet that, right? So at the end of the day, that's really what we enable on that side as well too, with this EISF or eRegulatory binder solution that enables the pharma companies and CROs to really provide the solution that the site needs to do this work, and to be able to ensure that you can monitor it remotely, review and collect all the documents and signatures and components that are necessary in a much higher quality format, where everything's right and you know what it is, and you can get it immediately at your fingertips, right? And so that's really the opportunity here for what we provide with our software, and we are really continuing to push the needle and envelope forward here with the best practices with the software here. And it's been awesome to see, even through this challenge here, the opportunity we've had to even further collaborate and partner with our clients, and to really move the ball forward with the awesome components we're building within the product.
Imagine I had no knowledge of clinical trials and what goes on within them. Could you please explain to me why they are so critical in finding a solution to COVID?
Yeah, so I think, top of mind right now, just about like every other news story is talking about things like hydroxychloroquine or different drugs that some people are saying are wonder drugs that will cure everything. But at the same time, all the agencies and doctors are saying, hey, actually, maybe there might be more risk than we know with some of these things that exist today. Do they actually work? Who knows? We're waiting for the clinical trials to tell us, right? To both have a good understanding of if it works, and how well it works, for who it might work, and at the same time, what are the side effects, so that when I go into my doctor, whether I'm, in this case, may have this COVID virus, or in the future with any type of disease I may have or treatment, that really the doctor can tell me, for me specifically, patients like me, is this going to work, and what can I expect, right? And do I want to then make that decision with that information in mind, right? That's why clinical trials are so important. They provide us as people that need these treatments with the understanding of the best knowledge we have in terms of how well this will work, and what side effects and profile we might really get out of that. And that's also why running these clinical trials is so difficult, because you need to be able to ensure that you're finding out all of that information and meeting every individual regulatory requirement, so that you can back it up, that all of this was documented, and that we can trust it, right? And that's really the challenge that faces these organizations running the clinical trials, and that the sites need to maintain a ridiculous amount of documentation to ensure that all of that is done correctly. It gets in their way of actually seeing more patients, starting more studies, and particularly now, in this pandemic and social distancing age, I can't physically do that the way that I always have done on site, and I can't physically do that the way I've always done it on site with my monitors checking and reviewing all of that information. So we can really provide you with that solution that you need to manage all of these regulatory and other essential documents, to run these clinical trials effectively with that highest level of quality that all of us, that are also patients, expect, that we can trust, right? And so that's really the the opportunity for why these clinical trials are so important. At the end of the day, it's your level of trust when you go in, to not just say, hey, maybe this works. I heard one news story that someone said it works, but actually that we can tell you with some certainty that you can trust that here's the impact that you can have on this drug, and here's what side effects might also be coming, to help us as a society as well as individuals, choose the right treatments that are most important for us. So I think it's critically important to make sure that these clinical trials are done correctly, and we can really help in a specific area around these key regulatory and documentation requirements. It's a huge hole right now for these research sites. We're getting awesome quotes every day from the clients we're working with that our software is really enabling them to run these, to continue their existing non-corona studies, enable them to run these new ones in a way that provides that level of quality that we as people can trust those results that are coming out of it, right? Which right now I think when things are scary, we all want to be able to get that level of trust, right? It's really where we come in.
As the CEO of Complion, that is working directly with clinical research studies in streamlining the process to make it as easy as possible to get these studies through, are you optimistic or pessimistic about finding a solution to COVID during this time?
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that happens in a pandemic or a crisis, you see people that, on one hand may freak out, on the other hand really step up to do whatever they can, relying on their core strengths. And I think the awesome thing that we've seen here in this country is we are a research powerhouse, creating the new treatments that are out there, and people are stepping up to do it. It was awesome to see very quickly, as soon as really this crisis started hitting, that we have clients signing up for these new trials, getting them up and running here for COVID specifically, as well as individual physicians and doctors, not big drug companies, but the individuals that are going out there to figure out what they can do, repurposing existing drugs and treatments that are available to provide them and give access to the patients, and immediately, right? So I'm definitely optimistic here that we are as a country, as a society, working as quickly as possible to get the right treatments out there, and also really excited here with Complion that we can really impact that in a big way, in our one very specific way, and that's what I keep ensuring that our team is focused on, the value that we can help deliver to those that are actually doing the hard work, while we're sitting behind our desk, locked up in our house, worried about needing to deal with our kids and the things that happen every day. The people that are actually going into the office, into the clinics, seeing the patients directly, worried about bringing that back home to their families, right? Those are the people that are actually doing the hard work, and we're really happy that we can support them in the way that we can to enable them to do that better.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rick, for talking to me today for the second time around. I really appreciate your time. I really do.